If you have access to organizational information, systems, or facilities, you have a critical role in defending the organization against cyber attacks. A lapse in awareness can lead to vulnerabilities within our network or information being accessed by unauthorized people. Cultivating a mindset of security is vital in protecting the organization and preserving the confidence of customers and partners. This security awareness training is a cornerstone in building a robust security culture, empowering everyone to safeguard critical information and systems. Even with strong technology and security measures in place, employees play a crucial role in keeping the organization safe. In fact, over 90% of cyber attacks begin with a phishing email to an unsuspecting user. Cybercrime in Texas alone resulted in over $1.3 billion of damage in 2024, and that only accounts for what was reported. This represents a 32.3% increase from 2023. You have the ability to spot and avoid potential threats. The aim of this training is to equip you with the knowledge to recognize and steer clear of actions that could compromise security. For example, downloading files from unknown sources or unsecure websites can be dangerous because it may introduce harmful software into the network. This harmful software, often called malware, can steal sensitive information, damage your computer, or even allow attackers to control your system remotely. First, let's discuss what is information security. The National Institute of Standards and Technology defines information security as the protection of information and information systems against unauthorized access, use, disclosure, modification, or destruction in order to provide confidentiality, integrity, and availability. We will use a lot more definitions from the National Institute of Standards and Technology throughout this discussion. If you are interested in exploring any of them more deeply, we encourage you to go to their website. To understand information security as a whole, we break it into three core parts, which is referred to as the CIA triad. Doing so helps us understand information security when we apply it to a given organization or circumstance. The three parts of the information security triad are confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Let's talk about each of these three tenets in a bit more depth. Confidentiality is preserving authorized restrictions on information access and disclosure, including means for protecting personal privacy and proprietary information. So confidentiality is simply keeping those things that should be secret. Whether it's requiring an account number when banking online or encrypting your data, we don't want sensitive secrets to become public. Integrity is making sure that the information that is in a given record, document, file, etc., is the information that should be there and that it has not been altered or destroyed in any way. Integrity is the assurance that data is valid, unchanged, and accurate. For example, in e-commerce, customers expect products, pricing, and other related details to be accurate and that it will not be altered once the order is placed. Availability is ensuring timely and reliable access to and use of information. Availability is best ensured by rigorous maintenance of hardware, performing repairs immediately when needed, and maintaining a properly functioning operating system environment that is free of software conflicts. Another way to ensure availability is safeguarding your data against unpredictable events such as natural disasters and fire by keeping backup copies in a safe location. Think of storing something in a fireproof safe in your house. Now let's talk about information security controls, which are measures that help reduce risk, such as breaches, data theft, and unauthorized changes to digital information. This may include hardware devices, software, policies, plans, and procedures that improve an organization's security performance. They provide detection, deterrence, prevention, and/or correction. Next, we will identify and define three main types of information security controls: administrative, physical, and technical. Administrative security controls include any security measures focused on managing people. These range from policies and procedures all the way to training activities. So, administrative controls are all about affecting human behavior. The different types of policies could include security policies, password policies, access control policies, data collection policies, and device usage policies. Learning about the risks present in the environment helps to keep people aware of the ways that an attacker can access a system. For example, impersonation, malicious emails, etc. With these controls in place, employees know what they can do to keep systems, assets, and data secure. When you think of physical security controls, you might think of fences, surveillance cameras, and security guards, all of which can help protect your information from being tampered with by unauthorized individuals. But there are other security controls that help to keep your organization safe, such as alarm systems, access control systems, proper lighting, and document and equipment disposal. These all help your organization defend its information. Much like how fences and security guards protect the physical environment, technical controls protect the digital environment. When we say technical controls, what do we exactly mean? At their most basic level, technical controls use technology to reduce vulnerabilities in hardware and software. Some examples of these network mechanisms include file and disk encryption, antivirus and malware scanning, multi-factor authentication, and firewalls, which reject unauthorized access to the network, or the use of a virtual private network, which allows you to connect to the organization's network safely when you're out of the office. These technical and physical controls work together with the administrative policy and guidelines to help ensure the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of your organization's information. As computers get more powerful, unfortunately, so do the abilities of hackers to break into accounts protected only by passwords. Multi-factor authentication, or MFA, is a way to verify who you are by using 2 or more authentication factors when logging in, which is much more secure than just using a username and password. There are 3 types of authentication factors. Something you know. This is information only you should know, like your password or a personal identification number, PIN. Something you have. This is something you carry with you, such as your phone, a security card, or a key fob. For example, you might receive a code on your phone that you need to enter after typing your password. Something you are. This means using a unique physical aspect of your body, such as your fingerprint, face, or voice. You may already be using this kind of technology to unlock your smartphone. MFA also gives you a warning if your password might be compromised. For instance, if you get a verification request when you are not trying to log in, do not approve it. Instead, tell your organization's security or IT department right away. Generative Artificial Intelligence, or Gen AI, is a cutting-edge technology designed to create diverse content such as text, images, and videos from both user inputs and a wide variety of data collected from a range of sources, including but not limited to the internet, articles, and books. Popular Gen AI systems include OpenAI's ChatGPT, Google's Gemini, and Adobe Firefly. It is important to review any organizational policies in place on Gen AI usage because your organization may have policies that restrict its use. Should you have questions about employing Gen AI, contact your organization's legal counsel or privacy officer for guidance. If the use of Gen AI is allowed, it's important to be cautious. There are many recorded instances of Gen AI producing inaccurate information or biased content, referred to as hallucinations. Make sure to verify that any Gen AI generated content is accurate using a reliable source before adding it to your work, and indicate when work products include Gen AI produced content. Additionally, Gen AI systems learn from the information that you give them. If you provide sensitive or confidential information, This creates the potential for a compromise in confidentiality and intellectual property. For example, a Gen AI system might in the future use data that you input to create a response to another user, therefore breaching confidentiality. To safeguard against this, only use public information as input for Gen AI systems, unless your organization approves otherwise. Your organization should also have some type of process for classifying and safeguarding its data. Data classifications are typically related to the potential damage that would occur within your organization if the data were released to or stolen by an unauthorized party. There are multiple classification systems, usually related to the type of data that is being stored by your organization. Some organizations develop their own classification system and require compliance to use their systems. Information classification systems usually have instructions on how to safeguard the information based on its sensitivity. The more important or secret the information, the more difficult it is to access. Classification and controls may sound scary, but they are simply procedures for people to follow when accessing the data and how the data is stored. For example, HIPAA, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, has controls associated with your medical records. When you first visit a doctor, they always have you sign a HIPAA form saying who in your family can access your medical records. The doctor's office does this because HIPAA includes information classification controls that apply to your medical records. Your organization might also have personally identifiable information, intellectual property, or trade secrets that need to be classified appropriately. Make sure you are familiar with your organization's classification system so you know what types of information you have access to. Users may be responsible for safeguarding information in a variety of forms. These forms generally include electronic, physical, and oral. Information can exist in a wide variety of places. It could be saved in the cloud. Do you use Microsoft SharePoint or Google Drive? Perhaps you save everything to your computer instead. If so, this means you need to protect your device by making sure you always lock or log out of your computer when not in use. Do you use USB drives? Make sure that they are encrypted. Do you send information via email? If so, you may want to think about using encryption. So information can really take on different forms and exist in different places. Just be sure that you are handling that information appropriately, in accordance with your organization's policies. Physical information is anything that you can touch. For example, printed documents, ID cards, and even the mail in your office. Physical information assets should be stored and locked according to your organization's policies and the classification of the data itself. When disposing of physical information, refer to your organization's retention policies. It or an accompanying policy should outline procedures such as file shredding, breaking, and drilling into hardware that stores sensitive information and placing items in designated bins for proper disposal. Oral information is anything that someone says to another, like when someone tells you their name, or when you have a private conversation with a colleague. Oral information is still valuable and needs to be protected. Confidential or sensitive conversations should take place in a secure area where unauthorized individuals cannot eavesdrop. One simple way to help prevent eavesdropping is using a headset for phone conversations or computer-based meetings. In-person meetings that have confidential or sensitive information should be conducted behind closed doors and not in a public space. Now let's discuss what steps we can take to safeguard information. Where does the information exist and what form does it take? What can you do to make sure it is secure? Having strong, unique passwords is the first step. One way to ensure that all your passwords stay safe is a password manager. This will help to keep all passwords confidential and unique. Adding two-factor or multi-factor authentication is another way to safeguard your information. Your organization may have a policy of encrypting any information that is shared via email. Whatever those policies are, make sure that you know and follow them. No matter what kind of information you deal with, there may be a time when parts either cannot be shared and need to be withheld, or the information is no longer needed. When this happens, your organization should have documented procedures covering how to properly redact information or dispose of information that is no longer needed. While these actions may seem similar, there are some key differences. Information sanitization can occur for several reasons. For example, when an organization receives a public information request. Some organizations are legally bound to share specific information while other information cannot be shared. When this happens, the information needs to be sanitized before it can be shared. For physical information, this may take the form of blacking out text with a marker so it cannot be read. For electronic information, the information may be overwritten using redaction software. Additionally, organizations may sanitize a piece of hardware if it is still usable, but is going to be sold, reused, or surplus. For example, if your organization is upgrading their computers, but the old ones still work, the organization may choose to donate the equipment to another organization. In this case, your organization's IT staff will erase all the data on the old computers so that the next recipient cannot access any previous data. Information destruction is exactly what it sounds like. The information is destroyed in a way that it can no longer be recovered. For example, paper documents may be shredded, or hard drives may have holes drilled through them, rendering them useless. When working remotely, there are several things you can do to make sure that you preserve the confidentiality, availability, and integrity of your organization's information. Using multi-factor authentication, if it's available, when logging into your computer and accessing data is a great way to help protect yourself and your organization. If you need to walk away from your computer, whether at home, at a coffee shop, or even at the office, make sure to lock your screen so that nobody can access the information on your device. This is easily done by pressing the Windows key plus L, or Control plus Command plus Q on a Mac computer. Make sure to always be aware of your surroundings, especially when in public. Shoulder surfing, the act of someone looking over your shoulder to gain access to your passwords or other information, is prevalent in these public places. Then there's your home network. It's best practice to change the default password on your router. Also, did you know that you can create different network access accounts? With this, you could make one work account, a home account, and even a guest account. Keeping both your hardware and software up to date is vital to your security when working remotely. Check your home router monthly to see if it needs updates. Make sure to update any electronic devices immediately when prompted to, or enable automatic updates. This applies to your computer, tablet, phone, and even any smart devices that you have. Your organization should have policies in place for data storage when working remotely. Make sure you follow said policies when storing information. If your organization has a VPN, virtual private network, available for you when working remotely, make sure to connect to that prior to performing any work. This creates a tunnel between your computer and your organization that helps protect your information. The final best practice to working remotely is to avoid or minimize the use of public Wi-Fi networks. Threat actors can create a Wi-Fi network that looks official but isn't, and if you connect to it, malware could be installed on your device. If it's available, use your hotspot or obtain a mobile hotspot device from your organization when working in public settings. Why is applying security to all the data we just covered so important? Because there are many serious threats that could damage your organization and its data. Every organization relies on information to keep its doors open, and information security helps make sure that the threats are identified, controlled, and managed. There are two main types of threats, those that come from nature and those that come from humans. You may be wondering why we consider nature a threat to information security. That's because extreme circumstances can impact your organization. If you work in a hospital and a tornado were to destroy the patient records, Your patients could be in serious trouble when it came time for them to take their medicine. Tornadoes are not the only threat we face. Natural disasters occur routinely. Our coast is vulnerable to hurricanes. Many areas of our state are at a high risk of flooding, and most of the state is vulnerable to wildfires. A few areas may even experience earthquakes. We refer to human threats as threat actors. These can be groups or individuals who pose a risk to an organization's information security. The groups of threat actors can range from an individual who may be playing a prank to a highly sophisticated group of professional hackers with access to tools who may even be working for a foreign country. People can often pose a threat unintentionally. This is often referred to as an insider threat. A common example of an unintentional threat would be clicking on a link in a malicious message and getting infected by ransomware, which freezes your systems and data. In contrast, there are still intentional insider threats, such as a person who accesses confidential data so they can sell it, or a disgruntled employee who erases data with the intention to harm the organization. There are also people who don't work for an organization that are a threat. For example, hacktivists are groups of people who purposely try to hack information systems for political gain. They are usually trying to steal information so that they can use it against their opposition or to spread their message. The hacking group Anonymous is one of the best-known groups of hacktivists. They gained notoriety by targeting the Church of Scientology and became involved in cyber activities related to the conflict between Russia and Ukraine by hacking into a Russian state-controlled news network and various Russian TV channels. The biggest change, though, has been the rise of ransomware. Lockbit is the biggest and most prominent ransomware group today, and they target organizations across the globe in both the private and public sectors. Information security helps to mitigate risks. Risks are typically a combination of the adverse impacts that would arise if a circumstance or event occurs and the likelihood that it will occur. Specifically, information system security risks are those risks that would arise from a loss of confidentiality, integrity, or availability of information or information systems. These could potentially harm an organization's operations, image, or reputation. Risks are usually classified as low, medium, or high. After the risk is identified, the organization then tries to reduce that risk to a level that is acceptable. There are 4 main ways in which risk can be addressed. The first is risk elimination, which is simply getting rid of the risk entirely. For example, if you live along the coast, you have a risk of hurricanes. You can eliminate that risk by moving to the panhandle. You could also attempt to do the second method, mitigating the risk. In this example, if you know you have a hurricane risk but cannot move your office to a part of the state where there are no hurricanes, you can instead make sure your office is built in an area where it won't be impacted by storm surge and that it is built strong enough to withstand the winds of a hurricane. If you know your area is prone to hurricane risks, you may also buy insurance, which is the third way to address risks, known as risk transfer. You will transfer the risk to a third party. The last method of handling risk is acceptance. Not every risk can be eliminated, mitigated, or transferred, and sometimes the most logical route is simply to accept the risk and make plans in the event the risk happens. Now that we've discussed threats, threat actors, and risks, let's discuss a few different ways that bad actors could possibly harm an organization. Attacks are an attempt to gain unauthorized access to system services, resources, or information, or an attempt to compromise a system's confidentiality, integrity, or availability. One of the most popular forms of attacks is social engineering. In social engineering, bad actors will manipulate somebody into giving them access to data simply by pretending to be somebody who should already have access. For example, a threat actor might call you pretending to be from your IT department, asking for your password to fix an issue with your account. They often rely on creating a sense of urgency and trust. These types of attacks have been in play for over 30 years and are not going away anytime soon. Some of the most popular social engineering attacks include phishing and masquerading. Phishing is a type of threat that uses an everyday tool, email. A threat actor may send emails to your organization, representing a trusted entity, such as a vendor or a colleague. For instance, you might receive an email that looks like it's from your bank, asking you to verify your account information by clicking a link. This email will typically request the recipient to either provide information, open attachments that may contain malware, or click on an embedded link to an infected website. To protect yourself, slow down and take your time before clicking links or following instructions in emails. Hover over links to check that they are official and do not click on attachments if you aren't sure of what they are. If in doubt, contact the sender another way to confirm that the email is valid. Phishing has many common counterparts. Smishing, or SMS phishing, is the use of text messages to try and get you to either click on a link or provide confidential information. For example, you might receive a text message claiming to be from a delivery service, asking you to click a link to reschedule a delivery. The link leads to a fake website designed to capture your personal information. Phishing uses your phone, calling you and pretending to represent a trusted entity in the hopes you will divulge confidential information. To protect yourself from smishing and vishing, be cautious of unexpected texts or calls asking for personal information. Do not click on links or provide information in response to suspicious messages. Verify the identity of the sender or caller by contacting the organization directly using a known, trusted number. Threat actors may also attempt masquerading, which is exactly how it sounds. The threat actor will arrive at your organization pretending to be a coworker, a trusted vendor, or maybe even a delivery driver. They may even bring donuts or breakfast tacos and ask you to let them into the break room. That person then has the ability to access restricted areas and cause harm to information or information systems. Always verify the identity of visitors and ensure they have the appropriate clearance. Do not let unknown individuals into restricted areas and report suspicious behavior to your security team immediately. Spear phishing is a special form of phishing that targets a specific person. This is usually achieved by getting details on the victim or the victim's organization through social media channels such as Facebook and LinkedIn. Attackers attempt to appear trustworthy by having a business email signature that appears to be legitimate, and the email may contain information gained on social media about the intended target. These attacks can be extremely hard to detect, but there is always a clue that gives it away. Again, with your mouse, hover over the email addresses and links in emails to ensure that replies and links go to where they say they should. If you are asked to give gift cards, access payroll or records, you should again slow down and contact that person directly. Trust your gut. If it doesn't seem like something someone would typically ask you to do, it probably isn't valid. Report any suspected phishing attempts to your organization's security or IT department. Quishing is a newer form of social engineering that involves using quick response codes or QR codes to send victims to fraudulent websites or prompt the download of malicious software. Malicious QR codes have even been found on parking meters, collecting parking fees and credit card information fraudulently. To protect yourself, avoid scanning QR codes in public places such as transit systems or street advertisements. In places like restaurants where QR codes are common, make sure the QR code hasn't been tampered with. Threat actors often cover legitimate QR codes with stickers of fake ones. Legitimate QR codes might have an organization's logo in the center or be printed in the organization's color. Today's smartphones display the URL a QR code contains before navigating to the website, allowing you to verify its legitimacy before going to the site. Additionally, since modern smartphones have built-in QR code scanners, avoid downloading third-party scanning applications that bypass these safeguards. Threat actors have been known to create QR scanners that deliver malicious software to your device. In the last few years, phishing has been a popular form of attack because an attacker can inject many different types of malware that can critically impact an organization. The most popular type of malware is ransomware, which I alluded to before. Ransomware is the act of taking your data hostage. How does it work? Let's say, for example, a user sees an email that appears legitimate and then clicks on a link or downloads an attachment. The attachment or link could potentially download ransomware onto your computer. The threat actors can then access your entire system through that one computer and take it hostage. The employee will then see a screen which tells them that their data has been seized, and it will urge the individual or organization to pay a ransom in order to retrieve the data. The attackers usually include a method by which to pay the ransom, usually by Bitcoin or another type of cryptocurrency, and how to communicate with them. They will also include a timer that counts down, and if it gets to 0, they will either sell all your data on the dark web or just destroy it. Organizations should have complete and viable backups that have been tested, because backups will be key to the successful recovery of an organization's information system. As a note, the FBI does not recommend paying ransoms. Your organization should have a plan in place in case there is an incident. It is important to promptly report any suspicious activity or incidents to your organization to help avoid or reduce damage and to protect the organization from similar attacks. Know who to report any suspicious activity to and how to report it. If you are unsure about who needs to be notified, please consult your supervisor. Like it says on the slide, if you see something, say something, and always be cautious. That concludes this security awareness training. To record your completion of this training, notify your organization that you have completed